Hello guys, this is PushDustIn from Source Gaming, and joining me today is Nintendon, or Daan Koopman,
Hello.
as well as John.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about the Smash Bros. Invitational that was just announced on Nintendo Versus and updated on e3.nintendo.com.
Yes.
So, big news, Smash Bros. Will be playable at E3. I think a lot of us expected that.
Sure.
And I think the biggest thing for me is, does this mean that we'll get a Smash Bros. Direct or some sort of dump of information before the Invitational? I think that's what a lot of people are wondering.
I'm thinking we'll get that before E3 even happens. Like maybe even like May time. We'll get like a whole big Smash Bros. Just info blowout.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did the first time, so it would make a lot of sense, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And they just also need to say from, well, these characters we can announce so far, so people know who are participating, which characters they can actually play. And maybe give some basic details of what this version actually entails too.
Right. So I believe the last Smash Invitational, how many characters were playable? It was something like...
That's a good question.
Was it a dozen or so?
I think it was about 12 or 15.
Yeah. So
That's not bad.
I wonder if they're going to reveal that many characters before the Invitational, or just have a little selection to choose from for that demo, or whether they'll actually go out and just announce like everything beforehand.
Since Smash Bros. Is releasing in 2018, they certainly don't have a lot of time to have those updates. That's what a lot of people are afraid of. So I think that kind of dumping a lot of information right before E3, like you said, maybe in May, would probably be the ideal situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have things like the Smash Bros. Dojo for Brawl, which had updates like teaching how to recover, and I don't think they have time to do things like that. Like they're gonna have to focus on the major things this time.
I think Sakurai's not doing the picture of the day this time around.
Oh,
No, it definitely seems like he is stepping away from that.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a translation that we did on Source Gaming where Sakurai talked about doing picture of the day, and he specifically mentioned that the original plan for Smash Bros. 3DS and Wii U was to only do it for 2 months after the game was announced, and then not do it again. So I think with this time around, he's focusing more on the game's development.
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, here's the thing. It has a shorter turnaround than the last couple of Smash games. It has been a bit over 2 years, maybe longer once again, if Sakurai has thought about it more, because he knew what he was doing after he was done with the last DLC. And with this shorter turnaround, the focus should be on development, not on the extra stuff beside it, because I was there when he did that Smash presentation on Wii U and 3DS and revealed Pac-Man and such. I was there in the audience. And what he told us was, and this was not publicly said a lot, but he was flying back to Japan that very morning. Just so he can assure that all the content was there on time. So, honestly, it makes a lot of sense, and I don't necessarily think that people would be that upset if Picture of the Day is missing, especially since this announcement kind of came out of nowhere for most.
Yeah. One thing I really like about this announcement, actually, is they still refer to it as just Super Smash Brothers, like there's no actual title still. And I wonder if we'll know that by the event, or whether they'll even announce it at the event. Because at the moment it's still just Super Smash Brothers Invitational. We don't know... They specify it's for the Switch, but it's not Super Smash Brothers for Switch. So do you think we'll learn the title there, or beforehand, or maybe even at E3?
I think we'll learn it beforehand, like if there's an information dump. I mean, if you check the logo's title on the website, it says Logo Final with a question mark.
That's very funny.
But hey, I love Super Smash Bros. Title pending for Nintendo Switch.
It's like even they don't know. They don't even know. Like,
just rolls off the tongue.
Maybe that should be the actual title, just like final?
Title pending is my favorite subtitle for this video game.
Yeah, I think with Sakurai not doing Picture of the Day, he can focus more on the development.
Yeah.
And also he can take more time to actually have a healthy life balance.
Well, yeah, that's also very good thing, especially since the hell he put him through for the last, say, maybe 8 years now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then just watch him go on and do the next Smash Bros. Like immediately after this.
Wow, that would be terrible, actually.
Right. I mean, it has that benefit. You know, the Switch is still early in its life, so Sakurai can have a bit of a break until the next Smash.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention is that the development time, Don, you said that it's more likely that he probably had about like 2 years because he had that short break after the DLC finished.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Brawl was in development for about 3 years.
Yeah, I would say that Brawl wasn't as smoothly balanced as as Wii U and 3DS though. And the amount of stuff that he put in was also way far-reaching in Brawl, because Brawl also sort of built on the fundamentals that Melee was built on. And the only thing that truly added was some really unbeatable characters like Meta Knight and Tripping.
Yeah. Well, the original project plan for Brawl actually had Subspace Emissary to be developed by an outside studio.
Right.
But then he couldn't find a studio for that. So then he ended up doing it completely by himself. So it's kind of like a situation where you have with Smash for 3DS and Wii U, where they're developing 2 games, but it's just Sakurai trying to do everything all by himself with a team that was not ready for it.
That's the thing.
Game Arts was just not good for it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Sakurai is a guy who is very set on delivering a complete game.
Oh yeah.
Even besides Smash Bros., I don't think that we can recall any game of his that doesn't feel so well balanced and full of stuff. And it's if it comes to the menu design, where he just puts a lot of detail in. He puts detail in everything he does, and he is very harsh on himself for it. So, with a similar development time like Brawl, I wonder in which place he currently is, because that's the one. That's the tricky part here, because we need to put a lot of faith in it. And Sakurai is a guy. I still like Brawl as a casual experience just greatly, but I think that the competitive community wasn't really as strong on Brawl. And he seemed to focus a little bit with making both sides happy with Wii U and 3DS, and I just wonder, will he focus on one direction or the other, or will he just focus on the things that made the Wii U and 3DS games great and build on that within the span of 2 years?
Right. I think for this Invitational, they have to focus on the competitive side. That doesn't necessarily mean the entire game will. But I believe last time they announced the GameCube controller adapters with the announcement of the Smash Invitational. So
I believe
not with the competitors they did, not with the Invitational. The Invitational was announced prior to that.
Right.
They announced the GameCube adapters at the Invitational, didn't they?
No. At the announcement video for the competitors.
Right, so I think they need that kind of leverage where they can sort of cater to that audience. But whether the actual game itself will cater to them, I really don't know. I think maybe it's smart to do that though, because esports is a growing channel, and it just makes a whole lot of sense to have a huge Nintendo IP at the forefront of it, because Melee is still huge in esports, and maybe this will be the sort of a calling to that audience. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll have a nice balance. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
One thing is, with Sakurai and balancing Smash, he's really taken a step back from it with every iteration. With the latest one, I think he had a small team, bigger than the one that was on the Brawl, to actually work on balancing within Bandai Namco. And the way that he kind of describes it is they would list suggestions, and he would basically approve them unless it broke the character.
I see. That's interesting, actually, because you look back at Melee, for instance. That is not a very balanced game at all.
No, it's not.
Right. So it's a lot of fun, but it is broken in so many ways, and so many characters just are not as good as others. So it's great that I think focusing on making every character feel viable is just a truly great way for the series to go in that direction. So I hope they expand on that more and make every single character feel good in this upcoming Smash.
Yeah. The issue with balancing Smash is that there are so many different playstyles and different modes and different amount of players that can be played at the same time. It's very difficult to balance the game. If the game was built off of a 1v1 kind of setting, then it would be relatively easier to balance. But because there's so many different combinations of characters and you could have 3 versus 1 and stuff like that, they kind of have to think of situations like that, or even casual players playing the game.
Right.
Oh yeah, I think it needs to be inclusive for sure, but it will take a certain direction because the amount of content that's Wii U and 3DS is sort of insane. Especially when it comes to trophies, the amount of modes, the specific modes they put in each version. It makes me kind of wonder the direction that they will take for this one. Will they just bring over all of that content from the Wii U 3DS? Or will they make specific modes that cater to the Nintendo Switch? Because once again, it's a 2-year span, and it may seem like a lot of time, but for development, it's relatively short.
Well, it depends on the porting process could have even started before Sakurai took that breather. I know when he was developing Kid Icarus, I think Brawl was being ported over to Wii U and 3DS. If you look through the assets of the 3DS version, you can actually find a screenshot of the Punch-Out stage in Brawl aesthetics.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing: it always is built on the last game. That has always been the case.
Yes,
but it's
data mine definitely proves that.
But it's about the game that's built on top of that.
Yeah.
And even for that, and for the perfectionist that Sakurai is, 2 years seems really short.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did Kid Icarus Uprising take to develop?
I think it was about 2 years. They had the gameplay first, and then they added the Kid Icarus characters.
Right. Yes, it was originally prototyped on the Wii, wasn't it?
It was first announced in 2010, and it came out.
It was developed using Wii hardware, but it wasn't. I don't think it was ever planned to come out on the Wii.
Yeah, but it came out in 2010, but it started I think like a year earlier. So in 2009, and then it came out 2012.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. That's actually really interesting, because that's not building upon anything, really. That's just a whole new game that he managed to develop in 2 years. Obviously, the scale of it is smaller than a big HD game like Smash. But it's interesting to see Sakurai work within those time limitations. I think Melee was even quite a short development time, too.
Melee was notorious on Sakurai's health. It was 13 months of development time for the actual development time. He started a little bit before that. Like, he had the Dolphin development kits, and he was working by himself, basically. But the actual team and everything was organized for 13 months at HAL. Mm-hmm. And for Brawl and Smash for Wii U and 3DS, I think they were about 2 to 3 years of development time. More if you include the DLC, but you got to remember, like with the Switch version, he's only working on one game.
Right.
With Brawl, he was basically working on 2 games with Subspace Emissary and the normal Smash game. And then with 3DS and Wii U, he was working on obviously those 2 versions. So I think with the Switch, having it focused on one experience will definitely really help sharpen the game.
So with that in mind, do you think there's zero chance of any kind of adventure mode in this?
I think he's kind of done with that Subspace Emissary, because
so did I blank out there?
I think with the cutscenes and everything, like he was really upset with the cutscenes being put on YouTube and everything.
Right.
Because I don't know if you know this, but he acted out all those characters.
Right.
Like he taped himself. Being Ganondorf, so that way the animators could recreate those scenes for Brawl. So he felt kind of, I think, like the players were robbed of that reward.
Yeah.
and like his work was kind of maybe wasted in some ways. So I think that's why with 3DS and Wii U, he focused on the character introduction trailers, which I think were just as fun.
Yeah, I think that's understandable too, because they create so much buzz. They're probably the best marketing the game can get.
And Don, for the Kid Icarus Uprising, Project Sora was started February 19, 2009, and then it ended February 2012.
I see.
So about 3 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, to be fair, it will be a bit shorter than that because also you have to keep production and certification in mind.
Yeah.
So it will be under 3 years. I would say, given the length of certification, it will likely be 2 years and 8 months, something like that, give or take. But yeah, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Yeah, considering the focus on one game, it makes a lot of sense. I still wonder the direction and if it's has been long enough for them to get something going, because we simply don't know how long the actual active development has been.
Yes.
But next to that, it's also, if they decide to bring stuff over, what do they bring over modes-wise? Because, if I'm being completely frank here, some of the modes in the Wii U game weren't all that great.
Yeah.
I know Smash Tour gets a lot of hate.
Smash Tour was actually kind of fine.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit chaotic at the end, but the idea of Smash Tour was really good.
I just didn't really have any incentive to play them again, like Smash Run and Smash Tour. I played them a couple of times when I first got the game, but I can't even recall the last time I tried them.
So Smash Run is actually the more interesting one of the two. I really, really like it. If they did more with Smash Tour, I think it could be a really well fit. We'll see though. I kind of hope that they bring like just the regular classic mode back, because the classic mode in the Wii U game was weird.
Yeah, Smash 3DS had a really nice layout though, where you could like choose your own paths, and I've been playing Smash 64 a lot recently for a video, and going through it, the classic mode is the same every single time, and it gets so repetitive. So I love the mix-up they had for the 3DS version. So I hope they build on that.
I played it all the time. Like, I had a really good time playing for that classic mode on 3DS, and I'm kind of thinking about playing it right now. But the one on Wii U tried to do something really interesting, but it felt sort of flat. And I think next to that, I think it's time for All-Star Mode to go.
Yeah. I think this is something that I talked about in a earlier discussion. Basically, there's too many characters. It takes too long to to get through All-Star Mode.
Yeah. It's like when they did on Mario Kart Double Dash, they did the All Cup, where you had to play through all the tracks in a singular run. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that after a singular time.
It's okay to have it, but don't put trophies. Don't make trophies unlockable only through that mode.
Yeah, that's a good way of going around it. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if completely getting rid of it is the right move, but yeah, as you say, don't have any incentive to make players do it, because otherwise it's just going to be such a tedious run. Because
some of the nicest trophies are locked behind All-Star Mode, so going through it is sort of a chore. I mean, what I really hope is that the modes that they keep in there are focused to the heart of the game, which is just playing the game. Like, Smash is at its best when you're just having with friends and just playing it. And
oh yeah, definitely.
And I think that's where the true potential lies. That doesn't depend if it's competitive or casual. Both ways are really fun. The side modes are the extra thing, just a cherry on top. And the cherry on top felt kind of lackluster last time. But if it can be that cherry on top, I think we would have a pretty amazing game on our hands.
I wonder what the big Invitational head turner will be, because I think Mega Man might have been it last time, him being playable on stage. So I wonder who they'll put in this time. 'Cause I think Inkling is too predictable. and we already know about it. So maybe another big third-party character.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely a third-party character. With all the E3s, they've shown like a third-party character.
Not at E3 2014. No, was it 2004?
No, I thought they did Pac-Man.
No, I mean the initial one where they showed Smash. The trailer at the
Mega
end.
Man?
No, well, they did show Mega Man, but I'm trying to say the one during E3 because they showed a presentation during Smash to certain press. I was there, where they allowed us 2 hours earlier into the Nintendo booth. At the end of it, they showed us the reveal for Wii Fit Trainer, and then they start playing a match with Mega Man and the Wii Fit Trainer.
Yeah, I think during the viewable trailers that were online, it was Mega Man right after Villager.
Yeah.
And then Wii Fit Trainer came out much later that day.
Yeah, Mega Man was publicly before Wii Fit Trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't only a third-party character, to be honest, with that one.
Yeah, I think with Smash 4 Wii U, they showed off 3 characters at each E3.
Yeah.
I think you're right, yeah.
That's correct, yeah, that's correct.
I don't know if they will continue that trend with this game, but I think that they'll definitely have a third-party character because it's a very hyped character to have in Smash.
It's time for Master Chief.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what I think it's time for? It's time to overhaul Mario's moveset.
Absolutely it is. So many of moves just don't make that much sense for the modern Mario character. When was the last time Mario punched someone?
That's basically Dr. Mario now.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
A lot of the designs for the older characters have really aged. Like, you can kind of see, like, when the character was introduced, if it was in Smash 64, Melee Brawl, or Smash 4 Wii U and 3DS. There's a huge divide on how Little Mac plays and how Donkey Kong plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and, like, Little Mac is much more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the second character that kind of needs to overhaul is Ganondorf.
Oh, yes, so much. It's mad that we've had 3 games and he's still a Captain Falcon clone. With Ganondorf, I mean. Like, why? Why? Out of all the characters, why?
Ganondorf has so much potential. So much.
I remember in when he got into Melee, it was a very lucky situation, and he didn't have a sword before then.
Yeah, and then his Brawl Taunt was just like, he just pulls out his sword and then goes, no, I'm going to put it
back.
Yeah. But yeah, we could talk about every single individual character, but those 2 characters in particular seem that they're long overdue for a reboot.
One more I'd like to see, actually, is Samus. I think her having her Samus Returns Aeon abilities and her counter could be really interesting. Because again, Samus doesn't really punch in her games. Yet in Smash, she has these sort of whack attacks, which don't really come from anywhere.
Yeah. Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look at the silhouettes, like her body frame looks a little different.
Yeah, I think she looks wider. Like her again, Other Rem had this really feminine design for Samus, which I think goes against her character. I think she's meant to be this sort of masculine-looking figure that surprises you with what's underneath. And I think making her this big, bulky Samus Returns kind of design works really well. And I hope that makes it into Smash, for sure.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so how many characters do you think that we'll find out about before the Invitational? Like new characters?
New characers?
So we're not counting any returning ones?
Not count returning ones.
Do melee characters count as returning ones?
I'm sorry?
Do melee characters count as
returning
yes,
characters?
If
say if Pichu
are you talking
comes
about,
back. Is that a new debut?
Pichu.
Okay.
That's the big head turner.
2. I'm very conservative with how many new characters I think they will announce.
Okay.
I mean, I think maybe before the Invitational, I think there will be 5 new characters, and I think in total there will be 11.
New characters 11. Okay.
Yes, 11.
Yeah, I actually think it's gonna be 10 to 15 new characters. Like in total, not before the Invitational.
Oh, okay. We're talking
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking before the Invitational, though.
Before the Invitational, I would say maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with 5.
You're way too optimistic about this.
There will be 500 new characters announced before the Invitational.
Oh my god.
And 498 of them will
Tingle.
be Master Chief.
Finally, Tingle. And Minecraft Steve.
Oh man. I love all the people saying that Sans is now going to be a playable character in Smash because Sakurai played Undertale.
Sakurai plays everything.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand.
Goku is now going to be a playable character, everybody. No.
Well, I think that basically wraps up our discussion. If you really enjoyed this discussion, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button, as we will be making more Smash discussions in the future. If you want to follow me or any of the other guests, please go ahead and check out the social media links in the description below. There you'll also find sources to everything that we mention. Please go ahead and leave a comment on what kind of topics you would like to hear us talk about next. This is your host, PushDustIn, signing out.